Hey, there you are.
Hey.
I was trying to figure out, I was like having a brain fart on how to get people up here because it looked like there were some new settings. And so I was messing around.
What's up?
All right, so this is the, what,
I'm set up straighter too.
what did we change the title to?
Together Out Loud. This is the Together Out Loud podcast.
So right now we're just going live on our own personal TikToks until we get a following. Which we have to wait to change our TikTok for the podcast anyway because TikTok only allows you have to wait 30 days before you can change it. So right now it's showing between us, but that's going to change. So as we get on here, we'll let you guys know once it's changed and to go follow the podcast page.
And we'll be mentioning this throughout the podcast. If you guys want to reach out to us to be part of the conversation, feel free to, of course, inbox, DM any of the accounts like on YouTube, Instagram, here on TikTok, or feel free to reach out to us through email as well. TOLpodcast15 and you can get a hold of us through that as well if you have any questions, comments, whatever. And we'll get back to you. And sometimes even if it's a good comment or a good question, we'll bring it up here in the show so that you guys can interact with it. I was trying to think of the word I wanted to use. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you okay. Can you hear me
Okay.
okay? Is it
Yeah.
better than it was last time?
Yeah. I couldn't tell the difference last time. It wasn't until you brought it up and added it to stuff that I could tell that you were muffled.
Okay.
But I couldn't
Well,
really. Huh?
I guess we'll see when I upload the recording if it's any
Yeah.
better. So I didn't know if you wanted to start out with what we had planned for episode 2 based on our notes, or if you had one of the um,
We can just go. We could start out right from where we left off in the last one. Maybe kind of go over a review summary of what we did in the last one. In the last one, we just kind of introduced ourselves, said some things that we didn't mean. Like, for instance, I know I mentioned I had a girlfriend when Samantha and I first met. I did not. I did not. I had recently gotten out of a relationship and I never corrected that. And I was like, after I went back and looked at it, I was like, oh, I said that I was in a relationship at the time. I wasn't. I was in and out of a relationship, in, out, in, out, in, out. And the girl that I was in a relationship with currently, she and I had broken up and I was on the prowl, so to speak, like a wolf, was hungry like the wolf. So today we're going to start off with just like, what were you trying to respond?
that I'm not a homewrecker.
Yeah. She's not a home wrecker. Yeah, you'll have to make sure you kind of lean into the mic though, because when you're far away like that, I don't think your mic's picking you up as easily as when you had the headphones in.
Okay.
But we'll start off just with healthy communication and like what that looks like when you're completely exhausted from working a full-time job and also trying to raise 3 children. And this is what it looks like right here, these faces. It's not too, I don't think it's too bad.
Actually, this is a good example of taking time, and we touched on this a little bit, taking time to talk to each other, taking time out for yourselves as husband and wife or boyfriend or and girlfriend, whatever it may be. If you have kids and have full-time jobs and all the volunteer work, whatever the things that are consuming your life. So I'm glad that we're kind of making this a habit, not only for anybody else who is out there watching, it's for ourselves too. So even if we get too busy throughout the week, which that kind of, I mean, we get busy, but we talk all the time, all the time. But even if we get busy or we want to talk about something with each other, it's nice that we take an hour each week out of the week, just commit to each other and communication. I think I'm gonna work on my ums, by the way. I think also when you're exhausted to communicate that, if that is all it is, if that's the only reason why, like, hey, I haven't really like talked to you about this and that and the other thing, it's just 'cause I'm just like so tired. Because that really would only be what's stopping you guys from talking.
I had a phone call come in, so I lost the last part of that, but I just figured I'd let you know that. As far as being exhausted goes, I mean, it's like Samantha said, we touched on it last time. You definitely do have to take some time out for yourself, even as an individual. But this will help us to kind of trying to think of the words to look for. Um, I guess release stress, release blow off steam. Because again, I think as we continue this, some of these conversations are going to start to become a lot more heated, a lot more emotional, especially as people start to get involved. That's why we want you guys to get involved. Feel free to comment, and we'll respond to those comments, become part of the conversation. But this actually, I feel like, helps energize us a little bit because we're not so focused on everything we have going on in life. Actually, it's almost a step back from what we have going on, a step back from the everyday cycle of things, because it really does. It starts to become a cycle, and doing things like this can help you. Just communicating and getting things off your chest, it can help you because it kind of also pulls you out of that whole cycle of just the bore. I mean, it really, because life can become boring and unentertaining, uninteresting when you're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. But as far as like, if I come home and I'm exhausted, you just got to be honest. Again, honest, open communication. You come home, hey, I'm just not feeling it today. Just kind of need to take a break, especially for me. So I get up generally at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I get off generally around 4. So I'm working like 14-hour days, and that definitely exhausts me. Some days are better than others, but it's a lot better now that I'm not doing a whole lot of lifting, running, pushing, stuff like that. I'm just driving a truck and then operating a boom when I get out. But that kind of helps salvage some of the energy that I need to come home and also deal with a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. Now, recently turned 6-year-old. Her birthday was on the 5th, but they're definitely energetic. And I feel like parenting when you're exhausted, I don't think it's that difficult. You just got to let them know. And our kids they get better as time progresses with giving us our space if we need our space. For instance, right now we need our space and we're just like, hey, just give us an hour and we'll get right back into it. Because like I mentioned in the last live, they generally run the household and run our lives anyway, because, when you have children, everything becomes about them. So I guess in a way, you don't have time to be exhausted. You just got to kind of push through. You really have to muscle through it and push through it. You can't be exhausted. You don't have time for that.
Sorry. Speaking of, there's one sneaking in here, so I'll see what you. Uh, I agree with you. And also, if your partner is quieter than usual, you can even just simply say, "Hey, is everything okay? How was your day? Do you want to talk about anything?" And I think a good response would be, yeah, I would love to talk, but I'm just really exhausted. And again, going back to what we touched on in the last live, is your partner isn't a mind reader. Your husband or your wife, they're not mind readers. So if there's something bothering you and you're staying quiet, waiting for them to guess what's wrong with you, it's not going to be productive. So it's best to just, if you're wondering if something's wrong with your partner, just ask. And if you're asked what's wrong, just be honest. They wouldn't have asked if they didn't want to know.
And also to continue in with that, a lot of times my exhaustion more comes from stress. So I do deal with stressful environments at work. My wife can confirm this, but you got to be open. You got to be honest. Because when I talk to her, it actually helps get some of that stress out in the open, because I can let the stress eat away at me and completely ruin my entire day, especially in my work environment. You know, when you drive truck, you got anything can happen, whether it be someone cut you off or you blow a tire or anything goes wrong with the truck, you have to deal with it. What's that?
The hydraulic line.
Yeah, hydraulic line can blow in my work field. That happened. She mentioned that because that happened yesterday, and I got showered with hydraulic oil. But I handled that pretty well. I feel she felt that I handled it as well, also, and that's because I'm getting better. It takes time. It takes time. It takes a cycle. You just gotta fight through it and openly communicate with your significant other. And also, we keep mentioning marriage. This goes for just any relationship as well. I wanted to point out also, this isn't just about you have to get married and this is only between people who are married. If you're in a relationship, this is the way you should be handling things. You should be open, you should be honest. And that's what works for us. And I feel like that would work for a lot of people, because you don't have the weight also of your subconscious weighing you down with things that you're holding in, especially in my, like I said before, in my field of work. It gets very stressful, and then that can weigh on me, and then I can take that on my wife. I can take that out on my children. And if my wife comes to me and we speak about these things, and I just, even if I blow up, so because sometimes I do, sometimes I'm just like, this isn't worth it, I don't want to do this. All I do is come to work to just be stressed, work, and I got to remember, though, that it's about her, it's about the kids. Like, I got to remind myself of why I do all of this, why I go the distance to work so hard and try to earn money, is to try to provide for my wife, my children, and take care of them and keep them safe and keep them fed and clothed and under a roof.
And I always try to remind him it's just a job, is not his life. So that's another thing that is good. A good reason to communicate and to talk is the other person can probably talk you off the ledge sometimes. And they may even see a different perspective of the situation and problem that you're not seeing. So if you're talking it out and kind of bouncing things off, bouncing ideas off, you may see the problem in a different perspective, and it may turn the situation around for you. Another thing that I was gonna say about communication when you're exhausted, actually, Jason has been writing down ideas of things that he wants to talk about in future podcasts, and that's just a simple thing to do when you're exhausted, when you're busy, and maybe by the time you get home, you can't remember what you wanted to say, so you just quickly jot something down. That's just a little extra step to take to communicate better when you are exhausted, or if you know you're going to forget what you have to say, just write it down.
And it helps, actually, when she says to me, you got to remember that this isn't your life, because that actually helps me balance my marriage between my full-time job, is that it's not my life. It's just something that I use to help provide for her, provide for our kids, provide, everything that they need. But it's not my life, is them. That was a weird dog. There's like a dog, stuffed dog here. I don't know if could you hear it? Did the mic pick it up? That's funny. But that helps me to balance. That's how I help. That's what helps me to balance between my marriage and my full-time job. I got to remember that my marriage, my family, they come first. Well, God, then my marriage and my family, and then my job. Because at the end of the day, it's not about earning money. It's just about providing. It's about buying time, really, because I feel like time is a more valuable asset than money is, because time you can't get back, money you can always get back. So, and as far as like with the 3 children we have, I've learned so much from them as well. I remember when our oldest was real little, I learned, listen, kids will teach you more about yourselves than you can teach yourself, or anybody can teach you, honestly, because kids are open and kids are honest. They will tell you exactly what's wrong. They will tell you exactly what's going on. They'll start to hide things and lie a little more often as they get older. But in the beginning, man, it's just brutal honesty. And I remember a moment where, and I'm going to be brutally honest here. I remember a moment where I've never beaten my kids to brutality, but I've gotten to a point where I yelled so much that I was like, this is way too adult for the way you're talking to this. He was 2 or 3, but he ended up locking our bedroom door, and I had to take the door apart to get the door unlocked. And I lost my mind. I completely lost my mind. And I was screaming at him. I was just like, what do you do? Like, what is wrong with you? And like, as I'm doing it in my head, I'm going, this is completely way too adult. He has no clue why he even did it. But I was so angry at the moment that I was just like, I have to release steam. But again, like I said, I didn't, it could have been, if it could have gone way worse, it could have gone way better. I could have calmly talked to him, which would have been the better option, or I could have hit him, which thank God I didn't do that. But you learn things about yourself. Like that was a great learning moment for me because I took a step back. Literally, I mean, it took seconds afterwards, not minutes, not hours, seconds afterwards. And I was just like, this was way too adult. And I learned something about myself. Like, I got to be better with my own emotions and not automatically react. I need to learn how to handle a situation better. That's one of the things, just one simple thing that I've learned from having 3 kids. And then I also learned that as you have more children, to me, I don't know if Samantha would agree with this, it gets easier. Because they have someone else to play with, they have someone else to talk to, and it definitely takes like a weight off of your chest. And I also can relate, like, so my mother had 4 kids, me, a brother, 2 sisters, and I can see why all of the children are raised differently on a different tier, if that makes sense. And it's because like you had that firstborn, you're like, they're my world, they're my life. So you kind of helicopter and kind of you kind of like hover over them because you're like, I just don't want anything to happen to them. I want to protect everything they do, and I want to make sure that they're taken care of. But then and this isn't a I can't think of the word for it. This isn't
An
an
attempt.
no, not an attempt. This isn't a showing of how much you love a child either. This isn't an like a label of love either. This isn't like I loved my oldest kid more than my other children. So don't take it as that. And also, if you have multiple kids, think about that because sometimes you might feel like I love this child more than this one and this one and this one. It just changes. You just got to remember life changes, you grow, and things change as time goes on, as time continues. And with that change, our second child, I can see why my parents were the way they were with us, but our second child, we kind of back off a little bit. You kind of take it a little easier because you start to understand this child made it and they're okay. So maybe I was a little overbearing, and I don't have to be as overbearing with this child because you're trying to find that balance in every relationship. You're trying to find that balance of overbearing as opposed to uncaring. So you want to balance that scale. You don't want to be too overbearing. You don't want to be too uncaring.
I agree. There was somebody that once said, I can't remember what it was. Probably saw it in a reel or in a video. A man said that you can have siblings
Maybe
in
that's what doesn't drip. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you because I'm like, people will probably think I'm weird because I licked that, but it's because around the lid it always gets it always gets wet and then it drips on me when I'm drinking. Go ahead.
he said that you can have siblings in a household, but they all end up having different childhoods, and that's exactly what you said. And I feel as though once you get to the second or third or whatever, multiple children, you're more comfortable as a parent. I think you're more confident in your parenting abilities. Of course, you will have moments where you feel like you're not doing anything right, but that's normal. I also feel like it kind of shapes each person's personality. For example, I think our oldest is a bit shy and reserved, and maybe that is because we were a little bit more protective of him, and then the other two are more outgoing, and maybe that's because we're more comfortable now. Do you agree with that? That maybe that's the how that kind of shapes their personalities. But then in my dynamic with my two older sisters and myself, I was the shyest one of the two, of the three of us. I mean, so I don't know, maybe it all varies based on the family dynamics.
Yeah, it definitely goes into that nature versus nurture thing where it's about, I mean, because everybody in your environment will affect you in a different way too. But I agree with you that I think it does shape your personality different in that the older kid, and actually, this is Jordan Peterson mentioned this. This is a statistic. The older sons always have more testosterone. That's weird to me. Your first son will always have the most testosterone. And I find that kind of fascinating. And I don't know if that has to do with nature and nurture as well, but I think the science that backs that is pretty fascinating. So I would say the older child is definitely going to be the manliest if it is a boy, and possibly I don't know as far as women. He didn't say as far as like if their estrogen levels or anything like that change, but I would say that definitely. I always looked up to my older brother as like my hero. So and he definitely was a protector. He definitely took care of us and definitely was down to fight anybody if they messed with us. And definitely like if someone was bullying me or either of my sisters, because I mean we went boy girl. So we had a boy protecting a girl, well protecting all of us, and then a boy protecting a girl. But and I'm happy that that's how I was raised in a family as well too, is like protect women, take care of women, keep them safe. And I don't think that that's toxic. I think that that is a masculine trend, or a masculine, I don't think trend was the word I was looking for, but what was that, characteristic? There we go. You'll have to speak up because it's not coming through. But I think that's a masculine characteristic. But I definitely think that the order that you were born in affects your personality, affects the way you were raised. Not the way you were raised, that was wrong, but the way you turned out, different things about yourself. Like I think maybe that's why I was a little more reserved as a child. I was definitely outgoing when it came to my friends, but back back in our day, you spent a lot more time with your friends and outside and doing other things. So I was always at my friends' houses, just raising Cain, well, in their house or outside of their house. But I also grew up poor, so I went to their houses also because like a couple of friends that lived down the street, they always had great food. They always had great cereals. My brother would be able to confirm that because he would go there for the same reason. So they were three boys. I don't like listing names because I don't want to put anybody on blast. So we'll call them D, S, and B. Well, that's their names, D, S, and B. But it's three boys. But my brother was friends with D, and I was friends with both S and B. And we would just hang out and do all kind get into trouble basically, which is what kids are supposed to do. That's another thing that I learned about raising kids is you got to teach them that it's okay to explore. It's okay to get into a little trouble every now and then. Like Jordan Peterson said in his podcast that he told his kids, because they had a strict at the school that they went to, Alberta, I believe is where he's from. The school that they went to in Alberta, they had a strict like no. That's not where he had his kids though. That's where Jordan's from. But they had, wherever his kids went, they had a strict no throwing snowballs policy. And he was just like, nah, I'm not having any of that. You can throw all the snowballs you want. You just have to be prepared for the consequences. And I like that. I kind of like that way of raising a child, in that you can say, hey, you can do some wild and crazy stuff, but you just got to remember there's consequences to everything, good and bad. I don't know if you agree with that as well, but I think it helps. Like our middle child especially, we raise him to definitely give back a little bit. Definitely give back and kind of be a little, I don't know, what would you say? like a little bit of a smart mouth is what people would say. And then that's only because I agree with Jordan Peterson. We need those kinds of people in society. You don't want everyone to just be a yes man, and you don't want everyone to just agree with the status quo. Like, I'm just going to go along with life and with the way things are going. No, you want some people that are going to push back a little bit. You want some people that are going to be like, no, I'm not listening to you. I'm going to do something else. Again, be prepared for the consequences, but I like that because perhaps you don't always have it right, even if you're a teacher. Perhaps you have it wrong, and perhaps this kid will show you the right way of doing it. You never know. Got to be open minded. I like being open minded.
I agree with you on that. There's both positive and negative consequences. In one of my previous jobs, I worked with people in the criminal justice system, and that was a huge thing that we kind of drilled into their brains and taught them. They had to relearn a lot of stuff as adults. So that was one of the things regarding problem solving, and every day in life is problem solving. So yes, I agree to remind people there are positive and negative consequences to every action that you take. And I also agree you need people who are going to stand out and not conform, because there are a lot of negative things that happen when everybody just conforms and does whatever authority tells them to do. My huge thing is that if somebody is going to kind of push back, at least be respectful. Respect is a huge thing for me, especially kids versus adults, I guess you would say. I just feel like you should always be respectful. Going back to how you said you were raised with the idea that men should be protective. I agree. And maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm super lucky with not having quote toxic men in my life or coming across men who have done me dirty or anything like that. I kind of see men as a higher standard. Like, I respect them more for some reason, and maybe that is that I like the protective characteristic of men. I grew up with a close extended family, and all the men in my family were like manly men, blue collar men, and respected and protected women. And it makes me sad that that is considered toxic these days. Why wouldn't you want a guy to protect you? Like, if somebody is bothering me, I'm going to another man to help me out here. So it just kind of makes me sad that society is kind of making that a bad characteristic, because I feel like in general people should try to protect each other. If they see some injustice happening, they should step up. Like the videos we watched last night of people, especially men, protecting others.
The kids out there.
Another kid coming in. Protecting others. I like that there are still men out there who aren't afraid to do that, because of society wanting to cancel men or wanting to say that that's toxic, or women miss independent, da 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 da. I don't know. And like I said, I might be naive because I've thankfully have never been in a situation where a man is going to take advantage of me or harm me. So I'm grateful for that. But I think I don't know. I think as a woman, you should respect your man. Just like you want respect from him, you should do the same. It's cringy to me when women don't respect men.
I agree with you, of course, obviously, and I think, but the men also have to respect the women, and a lot of the things that I've heard, when I've debated people about Christianity, and oh well, they don't teach you to respect women. Yes, they do. Jesus taught you to treat your wife like the church, like the love that you show for the church, the love that you show for God, the love that you show for Jesus. That's how you should treat your wife. So that's all. That's all. I guess propaganda. That's what I think it is. I think it's propaganda from the devil. The devil's propaganda to try to convince you that no, no, no. Jesus doesn't want you to protect women. He doesn't care. But that's just not true. And again, there's going to be a lot of faith-based things going on in these conversations because I am a strong, strong believer in Jesus Christ. He died for our sins. I want everybody else to know that he died for our sins. I want everybody else to see it and seek it and find salvation and get to heaven because it's important. That's the most important thing, really, because this life doesn't even matter. We're gonna all pass on one day and get to heaven, and it's gonna be glorious for those who get to heaven. But I'm also open-minded enough to say that, like, I think questions are okay. I think thoughts are okay when it comes to the Bible. But I think that's how God designed us, is the same way that Samantha was saying that men are protectors and they protect and they provide and they should take care of women and keep them safe because we're stronger, we're larger. That's all statistic. If you want, you can look it up. But that's just the way that's my outlook on life. And I think that a lot of, especially men growing up, can learn a lot from that. Can learn a lot from just viewing life through a perspective of respect towards women, and a perspective of I want to protect her. I want to take care of her. I want to make sure that nobody hurts her. And also throughout this live, if we end up, I'm also okay with if we end up we're gonna interrupt each other sometimes and stuff. I'm okay with that as well because like sometimes thoughts pop into my head. I'm letting everybody know this as well. So if you see me interrupting my wife, that's not a sign of disrespect. I do it all the time, but it's because my mind, I think men and women's brains work different too, in that I forget things real easily. She usually remembers everything for me. Like I'll be like, "Can you remember this?" Because I will completely forget it. I'll forget it a second later. I'll be like, "What did I ask you?" I've done it before. What did I ask you to remind me of? And she'll be like, "Blah blah 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 blah," whatever it was. And I'm like, I literally just forgot, even though I just told you 2 seconds ago. So a lot of times if I chime in real quick, and that also goes with anybody who comes up, anybody who joins the conversation, anybody who becomes a part of the live, if I interrupt you, I'm going to write notes if we ever get people up here. And I'm going to write notes on things that I want to say so I don't forget it. I think that'll be easier and more fair than trying to interrupt somebody because I don't really want to step over someone when I'm speaking. But for me, I just wanted everybody to know that sometimes that's difficult for me because I forget things really quickly and I just lose train of thought. And again, if you guys want to reach out to us, feel free to DM us on this. On our personal accounts too, you can DM us on that, although we would prefer it to be on the Together Out Loud podcast. Right now, it's between us on TikTok because TikTok won't let you change it, so we've got to wait a little bit until we can change it. So for now, it would be between us if you want to DM that. But it is Together Out Loud on YouTube and on Instagram. And if you guys DM us on that, we will respond to you. Or also feel free to email us at tolpodcast15@gmail.com. If you want to be a part of the conversation, if you want to chime in, if you have any ideas of anything you would like to talk about. Again, I mentioned this in the last episode that I would also like to make this a place where people can talk about things that aren't often talked about, or just something particularly interesting to you that you want to speak about, that you're like, I really want to talk about this, but nobody talks about it. Like maybe your friends don't talk about it. Like I mentioned nihilism in the last one because I fight it, but I'm a deeply nihilistic person at heart. I try to fight it. I say I fight it and try to fight it both. But most days, I shouldn't say some, most days are definitely better than others. But, there is that rare occasion that it really comes in and grabs a hold of me. But that's something I'd like to talk about, and that's something that not a lot of people want to talk about because you don't have many nihilists in the world, at least not that I know of. So hopefully through these conversations, if I meet anybody or see anybody who is nihilist or wants to unalive themselves, this will be a great outlet for them to be like, oh, I can relate to this guy, because I think that's how we fix it. Because I don't think, I've mentioned this to her before, when you're nihilistic and want to unalive yourself, I hate that I have to say that instead of, but when you're nihilistic and you want to unalive yourself, you kind of you don't feel like a person. So it's hard, at least in my opinion, for therapy to work for anybody like that, because it's like, how are you going to convince me that my life matters or anything like that when I don't even feel like I belong here or feel like an actual person that deserves existence? But I'm just mentioning these things because it's something that I would like to talk about. But yeah, anything that you guys feel like you want to talk about, feel free. You can type it in the chat. You can request up, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I'm sickeningly optimistic sometimes, so I can kind of help him, like I said before, off the ledge a little bit. But
and that's actually one of my insecurities, that she, like, through my wife helps with those insecurities that I have. One of my insecurities being nihilism. I don't like to be like that. I don't like to act that way. But these are ways that you can help support each other's insecurities in a relationship, in a marriage, through conversation and through honesty and through openness and through dialogue. Because if I hold it in, it's way worse for me. And especially men should listen to this part right here. This part right here. You have insecurities that are inside of you. You need to open up and you need to give them to someone. You need to talk to someone about them. Of course, there's Jesus, because that's the first person I give my insecurities to and the first person that I give my problems to. But you also need someone here on earth. Of course, Jesus is with you here on earth as well. He's in your heart. But you need someone physical here on earth to talk to about these things that are bothering you, because if not, they're just going to fester and they're just going to get worse. Because it's really easy to dig yourself a hole and dig yourself a grave when your mind starts getting into that pessimistic, negative cog, wheel in the cog, or cog in the machine. When it starts to get into that negative cog, it starts to spin faster and faster and starts to feed more negative thoughts into your mind. So my wife is really good at supporting me, because she's very good at reassuring me that these voices are not true, that they're liars, and that it's the devil. It's the devil wanting me not to focus on the things that are positive. Here's something. I heard this the other day and I really liked this. I have to remind myself that God picked me. So sometimes I view it as like, my kids deserve better, and that can be part of my nihilism. But I have to remind myself that God picked me to take care of these kids. And my wife is really good at supporting me and helping me remember those things, helping me to remember that I was chosen specifically to raise these children. And that's wonderful. That's amazing. So when I have that in my mind, it helps for the negative thoughts to not overwhelm me quite as much. So that's one way my wife supports my insecurities. I try my best to support her insecurities, but I think hers, I mean, I think hers mainly would be, what's that?
try to guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to guess here, and she'll let me know if I'm right. I would say probably being overwhelmed would be one of them, definitely. Like when things start to become very overwhelming from every side. And also, I think some of her insecurities come out in a form of wanting more order. There we go, wanting more order in life. So like if life becomes too chaotic and disorganized and overwhelming, she can I feel like that's one of her insecurities. And the best thing that I can do about that is just tell her to relax, tell her to take a breath, take a step back. She tells me these same things, but I think we try to help balance each other. Oh, because I have to be the positive when she's the negative, and she has to be the positive when I'm the negative sometimes. That's just the way it works. Like, we can't both be negative because it's just not going to help anybody.
Yeah, that was a good guess. I think the underlining insecurity there, where when things feel out of my control or too chaotic, is like not feeling good enough. And that's been since I can remember, and it stems from like kind of feeling ignored and like a like a background character in my own life. And that really has nothing to do with anybody. Like it, it's a lot better now, because I have people who are active in showing me their appreciation, their love, even when even when Jason says, "Hey, I really thank you for making us dinner. I really appreciate that."
And I try to get the kids to say that too. Yeah. I always try to get the kids to be like, hey, thank your mother for making us dinner.
And it's nice to hear that, even though it's a daily thing that I do, it's nice to hear. So sorry, I'm getting a little emotional.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Remember, in the last one, I mentioned that there's going to be times where we get a little bit emotional, and definitely anger, definitely crying. I'm going to end up crying too at some point. I'm sure of it, because anytime I talk about the kids or Jordan Peterson, stuff like that, I definitely get emotional.
But yeah, so
or sometimes I feed off your emotion as well. You get emotional, then I start getting emotional.
But yeah, not feeling good enough. So like, and like I said, a lot of times that's my own thoughts. Like Jason said, like it's your own thoughts that are your worst enemy. It could be something like, oh, I don't think the house is clean enough, for example, because that's something that I like really stress out about, especially if somebody like pops up randomly. But it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, do I choose to like have a spectacular house and make sure that I'm focused on that all the time, or do I choose to stop and spend time with the kids and play with the kids or help them with their homework? Or our middle child, he's into Legos so much and creativity. I just absolutely love his creativity. Just today, he showed me a new book that he wrote, and he was like, "What do you think of it?" And I just like, that stuff is way, way, way more important to me than having a spectacular house. But I do feel insecure about it too, because I'm like, how do these people, like these other people who have kids and their house is like amazing and
immaculate?
Yeah, I feel like I'm walking into like a brand new house. Like, where do you find the time to do that? And I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks this way, because it's like, I feel like I'm constantly kind of picking and choosing what to spend my time on. But I try to remind myself that like, the kids aren't going to remember what the house looks like when they're an adult. Like, I don't remember what my house looked like. My house could have been a little bit disorganized, and I don't remember. But the kids will remember me spending time with them. And that's what's important to me. That's more important to me. So I really try to work on that insecurity. But also another kind of insecurity of mine, which Jason helps me with, is like getting really upset over little dumb stuff. For example, the other day when we were going to basketball practice and Jason wasn't home yet, but he was on the phone with me, and I like kind of had a freak out because the kids went down to the icy yard instead of going the other way. And he reminded me, like, it's not a big deal. That's just like not a big deal. And it's weird. It's strange and funny to me that we don't get upset over things at the same time. So it really does work out that the other person can calm the person down who's having a freak out. So it really is nice that we complement each other. And I guess that's also what I've learned after 3 kids is like, don't sweat the small stuff. Things are going to happen. There are more important things in life than getting upset over just dumb little things.
Absolutely. And the most important parts are just the kids, that they're healthy, that they're taken care of. And our house, like, don't take it like there's just garbage sitting everywhere and stuff. It's just clutter. The kids clutter it. And that's just kids. Like, they bring toys from upstairs, toys from everywhere. That's just kids. That's what they do. That's kind of how I've looked at it, and I try to help. And the way I kind of try to support that insecurity would be like I try to get the kids to clean up and pick up after themselves as much as they can, because me, that's my main thing for the way I stay clean, for the way I keep organized. I am very big. Well, like I said earlier, my memory isn't so good. So I have to specifically put things back the exact place I had them, because if they're not there, I'm not going to find it. Like, if I suddenly put something in a different spot, I'm like, no clue where that went. That's something she helps me with. These are things that you can help balance each other out in a marriage or a relationship, because you help each other. And thankfully, she has a good memory. So if she takes something of mine and puts it somewhere else, which she does all the time because she likes to annoy me and get under my skin. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But she'll take it and put it somewhere else, but she knows where it's at. She'll say, hey, or sometimes she's even on the phone, called me and just said, hey, I moved this and put it over here because I didn't like where it was. Because listen, between men and women, my opinion here, between men and women, men aren't as particular about where things are in a house. It's a home. This is here. That's where it's going to be. That's there. That's cool too. Like, we don't really care as much, where women are a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the way things look aesthetically. They're more aesthetically prejudiced. They're more aesthetically prejudiced than we are. Like, that doesn't look right there. I don't like that there. That needs to be moved somewhere else. And you just got to be like, most guys that I know are just like, oh, okay, that's cool. But make sure you let your guy know, because if not, he doesn't know where that's at.
Going back to what you said about the house, like it's not a disaster, but it's not up to my standards. It's never up to my standards. But yes, and I don't like clutter. I don't like things on the floor. I don't like things not having a place. So that again is something in my head that I need to work on. But I'm happy, and I'm sure I've seen this in other videos and stuff. Our generation, the geriatric millennials is what they like to call it. We grew up as always being in our bedrooms. So like, I'm happy that the kids always want to be around us and want to be in the same room or in the room right next to us. And so that's why I have been trying not to like be so upset that they bring their toys down to play in the living room, because we weren't living room kids, but we're raising living room kids. So that should be something that our generation should be proud of, that we are closer as a family and they feel safer being around us and they feel comfortable. Like, I hear them out in the living room right now. Our middle child is playing Legos. So I love that. So I try to find the balance of absolutely bring your stuff down, but just remember to put it back when you're done. That's it. And so that makes things easier. And of course, teaching them kind of life skills, so when they're older, they can keep their house in better order, I guess. And another thing is, sometimes I don't move your stuff. You just can't find it, and I'm always like, that's my superpower, is I can find everything.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Just today, I was putting a dresser together and I couldn't find my tool for it. And she's like, verbatim, these are her exact words, I'm going to look under the sink and I'm going to find it immediately when I look under there. And I'm coming back down the steps because I'm like, I guarantee she had it hidden behind her back. And she was like, I'm just going to put it in there because I knew where it was. So I grabbed it quick and then I hid it under there. And then I come out with it and look like the hero, but she did have it in her hand. I was like, where was it? And she's like, right there. I opened the cupboard, it was right there. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think the meme with the Harry Potter one, Alakazam, and it's there. That's what she does. But I agree. I know she and I have spoken about this before. We definitely weren't living room kids, and this isn't a dig on my mom, but yeah, my mom absolutely not. Like, nope, no toys here. This is a living room. Go play in your room if you want to go play in your room. So I do like that the newer generation is definitely more. We're definitely closer to our children, and I love like hearing that, especially men are spending more time with their kids. I love hearing that. It's like my favorite statistic that more and more they're starting to be part of the household and starting to spend more time with kids, because you need that. And I don't care if I get flack for this. I don't care about all the naysayers. You need a mom and a dad in a marriage or a relationship when raising a child. You just do. And I know single mothers are going to see this and be like, "Oh, this guy, he's a jerk," but you just do. And they say, even statistically, Jordan Peterson mentioned this on his podcast. Statistically, even stepdads don't work. It helps, but not as much as the real father being in the child's life. So I guess what can we take out of that? The only thing I can think of to take out of that is just be careful with who you choose relationships with. The problem is today in society, and this is going real off the rails, but in today's society, we are so convinced that it is okay for everybody to sleep with everybody. Everyone just do whatever you want, freedom, sleep with everybody you want. And it's not good. It's not good. Statistically, it's not good.
Well, I'd also never, I mean, as a woman, women associate that with feelings, so it never really fills that void, that emptiness. I mean, I agree with you. That's my opinion. It's not going to fill any void that you're trying to fill. It's just not. If anything, it'll probably make you feel even lonelier.
Yeah, biologically, because Jordan Peterson mentioned that the reason that, and this isn't a justification for men to cheat, but the reason that men have intercourse is physical. Women have intercourse because it's emotional. It's a connection that they find with the mate. But men can, unfortunately, I do think that's unfortunate too, but they can just do the physicality of it, and they're just like, wait, what? It was just fun. Like, I thought we was just having fun. But
And with anybody.
What's that?
And with anybody,
Yeah, and with anybody. Like, I'm just having fun. I did want to mention, though, I did definitely want to bring up our fast, that we're in a 48-hour fast right now. And I did want to mention that briefly. We stopped eating yesterday before 5, like 4:45-ish. And I'm feeling okay. I'm not having any urges just yet. We've done this before, but I like to mention this just so other people can consider a fast for themselves and consider different health choices, especially like if you're overweight and you end up hearing this, you need help with cravings and stuff like that. Apple cider vinegar obviously works great. Honestly, works great. Works for GERD. I used to have acid reflux, and I used to take Zantac, which is now discontinued. So I'm sure I'll get cancer at some point. Sorry, the big C. I forgot you can't say that on here either. Yeah, you can't say the big C. I don't think. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know any of the rules. They'll
find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. But I used to take that like candy, and then if nobody on here is aware of him, check out a guy. His name is Dr. Berg. He's on YouTube. Dr. Berg, Berg, and he's amazing. He put me on to acid apple cider vinegar, ACV, and a couple tablespoons of that, and it increasing the acidity of my stomach actually helped with my acid reflux, where I thought it would make it worse, but no, it helps your gallbladder create bile. It helps with your acid reflux because it increases acidity, and sometimes you can get indigestion and acid reflux from your stomach not being acidic enough, and it's not digesting the food properly. And it worked. He also speaks about vitamin D, huge thing to take. I recommend it for everyone. I honestly, if I'm being honest, I think vitamin D is what got me out of depression. I'm serious, because I literally started just feeling a whole lot better taking a vitamin D supplement. I mean, obviously sunshine should be your first choice. You want to get out there, you want to get that sun. But yeah, check his page out, Dr. Berg on YouTube. He's amazing. He talks about sugar, he talks about how it's inflammatory, and as a person with Lyme's disease, I need less inflammation. So I definitely need to cut out on the sugars. But if anybody needs help with that, feel free to also type in the chat about that. Email us about that. Again, the email is tolpodcast15@gmail.com if anybody has questions about that, because it's definitely helped us. We did a meat diet for 21 days. That was amazing. And the fasting, I think fasting is one of the best things you can do for your body. It's definitely not fun to start, but once you kind of get over like the 16, 18, 20 hour mark, it kind of just rolls along. Like it just, I feel like the worst part is the clock counting. I don't know if you do this too, but I definitely clock count. Like I'll like look at the time and I'm like, oh man, it's only 2 p.m. This is when we would normally eat. But you can chime in whenever you want on your what's going on with fasting.
Go on and on about this stuff because I researched first. This is electrolytes that I'm drinking. So when you are fasting and drinking water, you can still be dehydrated. So it's important to get your electrolytes in. Sodium. So it's been known that drinking pickle juice, I know that doesn't sound appealing. I love pickles, so I'd be fine with that. Pickle juice and bone broth, as long as it's like natural bone broth that doesn't have anything added into it, which most of the stuff at the store doesn't, but I would recommend making your own. Those you can still have while you're fasting, and they're important because sodium is important. Sodium is actually way more important than people have said, which woohoo, yay for this administration. I will say I'm happy about the new food pyramid that they've done. They basically, it's upside down now. So protein, meats, and cheeses are on top and the biggest, and grains are at the bottom as it should be. One thing that Jason touched on, depression and anxiety, people don't realize it's your gut health that affects that more than your brain, which I believe Dr. Berg is the one that has said, I think I learned this from him, that there's more serotonin produced in your gut than in your brain. So when they give you those, what are they, the SSRIs, those anti-anxiety medications that target them, they're targeting the wrong part of the body, which is why you probably have negative side effects. They make symptoms worse sometimes, and you have long-term negative effects of it, which we could go on and on, because both Jason and I have been on antidepressants before. I hope you're okay with me mentioning that.
Yeah, that's fine.
The supplements that I feel have helped me as well, because I'm on a long-term weight loss journey here, is magnesium is a huge thing, because sleep is one of the main factors of your emotional health, your mental health, physical health. Sleep is so important. If you don't have good sleep, it's going to mess up everything else. And magnesium helps, and that's actually way better for you to take than melatonin. You should not be taking melatonin. That actually messes up your natural, circadian rhythm.
Yes.
Magnesium is good for your gut health as well. Magnesium, apple cider vinegar, pre and probiotics. Those are the 3 supplements. Oh, and vitamin D and vitamin K. Jason mentioned vitamin D, which vitamin K also helps your body absorb the vitamin D, so they should go hand in hand, which a lot of times the vitamin D supplements that are out there do have vitamin K in them already, included in them. So those are the supplements I recommend. We are not doctors. We don't claim to be doctors, so take our advice as you will. But for our personal experience, those are the supplements that will really help you get your gut health in check, and you will then see like your mental health is definitely going to improve.
And
In
real quick before we close out this session, this episode, Theo Vaughn also was on antidepressants, maybe still is. I'm not sure if he still is or not, but he mentioned it. And he and I both had a bad side effect. And I don't care about talking about this because I think people should know these things before they jump into taking a pill for the rest of their lives. But one of the things it did to me was it made me have more of like a nummy feeling in my happy area there. We'll call it that. We're going to call it the happy area. I'm a little more nummy. So definitely not as pleasurable. And the worst part, so I want everybody to know this. This is my experience. Again, not doctors like she said. This is my experience, but even after getting off of those pills, I still am a little nummy, not pleasurable. So it ended up being a lasting side effect. And I just want people to just look into more holistic and more natural remedies for these things before you immediately go to like, I'm going to take a life altering pill. And like I said, sunlight, get out there and get some sunlight. It's going to help you to not be depressed. But in closing, we'll talk about what we're going to go over in the next episode, conflict without chaos. So we're going to talk about how you disagree without blowing up. And maybe that'll be a fun one. Maybe I know that we mentioned that we were going to disagree on this one, but maybe next one we'll put the disagreement in there on unaliving yourself, because that's something that she and I disagree on, and we'll get into that in the next episode if you're interested in seeing and hearing that disagreement. But we'll start that off nice and big with that disagreement, and we'll show you how you disagree without blowing up, I guess, so to speak, and how you do that. Also, we will talk about the best and worst advice that we've ever gotten about marriage, which I don't even know if I've gotten any advice about marriage, but I did see my parents' marriage that wasn't healthy. So I can talk about that maybe a little bit. And also why modern couples fight differently than our parents did. And I think you would agree. Yeah, we definitely fight different. I think we disagree more. We don't actually, that's the thing too, is it says the word fight. I think it should say disagree, because my wife and I disagree differently than our parents or anybody I even know. I know that my brother and his wife definitely disagree differently from my wife and I. So I don't know. Maybe people will watch and maybe learn something. Go ahead.
My mom's at the door. That's why I was just gonna say.
Oh, your mom's at the door. Okay, all right. All right, so we'll catch you guys at the next episode, I guess. She showed up just randomly.
Bye.
Love you guys. Thank you for coming.